Growing up mere blocks from Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, Marie Osborne's destiny to become a nurse seemed, well, set in stone at an early age. And she did get her nursing degree, but then she got married and had 5 kids, and her focus was then on the family. Her husband, meanwhile, worked for IBM and was tasked with running that company's operations in southern Idaho way back in the 60s. They moved here, and then they would camp in the Sawtooths every summer, and usually someone would run through that campground looking for medical help, and then Marie, as a nurse, she would help. And that would have been Marie's first glimpse of her future. In fact, Marie was the first of many things in her life. But she was Plan B, believe it or not, when it came to the first she is most known for. Plan B turned into nearly 30 years of service, and why Marie was honored this past weekend at the College of Idaho graduation ceremony. On a mid-May, mid-morning Saturday in Caldwell, the College of Idaho class of 2022 files in to begin the next chapter of their young lives. Among them is a 91-year-old.
Congratulations and thank you for all that you have done.
Well, thank you.
Who wasn't really much for following others.
An extraordinary trailblazer in the state of Idaho and really across the world.
And whose chapters already written could already fill a book.
She started the first medical clinic in Stanley. She is Idaho's first ever nurse practitioner.
Wearing a graduation tam and gown is not how Marie Osborne saw herself 5 decades ago.
My mom said since I was a toddler, I always wanted to be a nurse.
Neither was pioneering a profession part of Marie's plan. That path presented itself while on vacation in the Sawtooths.
Then there was a terrible car accident up there. There were 4 kids involved, and it took a very long time to get the ambulance from Haley. And she said, you know, someone needs to do something about this. Someone needs to do something about helping these rural communities with health care.
That someone would be Marie, with some help from Idaho lawmakers in 1972.
At that time, Idaho was the first state in the nation to license nurse practitioners to try to respond to the needs of rural communities. Mom was the first licensed.
With that new license, the 41-year-old mother of 5 opened up Stanley's first emergency clinic on June 19th, Father's Day, 1972. They were even able to add an ambulance, a '58 Pontiac.
We paid $300 for it.
At first, the focus was crisis care.
Well, it's a huge tourist area.
And, well,
people do some of the dumbest things in the middle of the night.
But then
People start coming in for their allergy shots and blood pressure checks and chest pain, and so you know, you sort of have to end up being a jack of all trades.
She's a sole provider for about 6,000 square miles of backcountry.
The backcountry Marie may have been a bit familiar with.
But medically speaking, I had no idea what I was getting into.
She did know she needed help, so Marie put together a crew of certified EMTs.
And so Marie was offering the EMT class, and I took her class in 1975.
Steve Lippis was one of the early additions, part of what was called the Goat Patrol.
When there was an incident in the backcountry, a climbing accident, somebody fell off a horse, broke a leg, or cardiac incident, we were pretty much the lead, getting in the quickest way we could, mostly running.
Steve served on that crew for 24 years, and Marie made sure he got his certification every 2.
I think one of the things that Marie did was not only teach us the procedures and what to do as an EMT, but her compassion for patients filtered in on all the EMTs, and we developed quite a team. As EMTs, we always appreciated when Marie was in the valley because we always knew she would respond.
Marie did respond. She just didn't expect to for nearly 30 years.
You know, you don't think about that. You just start and you do, and it gets more and more interesting. I like not knowing what's coming in the door.
Not knowing was kind of the theme of the clinic's early days.
This was a new concept of a nurse practitioner. No one knew what it was, and Mom in many ways had to define it.
But it wasn't without controversy, like when it came to prescriptions or just pushing the envelope of the profession.
Well, I was doing things that had always been considered the prerogative of the medical profession, not nursing.
The problems extended to the financial.
I made more money cleaning outhouses in a summer up in the Sawtooth than Mom made all year taking care of patients.
And the physical.
In the summer, she'd be up all night with ambulance runs, and then she'd be, the patients would line up during the day. And there's no one else. It was just her.
I don't think I ever cried on a job, but I cried driving home a lot.
One of the bright spots, though, was setting up a pre-med internship program with the College of Idaho in the mid-1970s.
If you've had the opportunity to work in that clinic, would you please stand up?
Through that program,
Some of you I know are out there.
Marie's students learned the importance of medical care in rural communities.
When people ask what I was, I'd say I'm a super nurse, because basically that's what you are.
Today, Marie is celebrated for being anything but basic. And the woman who never really wanted a title is getting an honorary one. Dr. Marie Osborne.
Well, they didn't mention this in the job description, but
Legally blind and officially retired for the last 10 years.
you start out not knowing where you're going, and the pathway is amazing.
Marie can still impart the wisdom of experience.
Don't go where there's already a path well cut for you to follow. Instead, make your own path
On those who lack it.
and make sure you leave a good trail. I just feel like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing.
Look at the camera.
It turned out to be a fun job.
A fun job. Marie left the Stanley Clinic in 1999, but she did leave it in good hands. And it didn't mean she stopped working at that point. She went on to help in other rural clinics around Idaho, like in Horseshoe Bend, Idaho City, and Emmett. And finally, she ended up in Boise to serve those with little or no income and little or no insurance. She saw her last patient at the age of 80 when her diminishing eyesight forced her to stop. I asked her if she still thinks about her days in Stanley, and she told me, probably every single day. I mentioned the chapters in her life that could fill a book. Well, that's exactly what she's working on, writing a book about her days in Stanley with the help of her son, John, who is also a doctor. He was also one of the first College of Idaho students to intern and serve the clinic. Since then, the clinic has hosted 2 interns a summer, which means more than 50 pre-med students, most of whom have gone on to medical careers from the College of Idaho. By the way, Marie may have been the first licensed nurse practitioner, but they are now more than 350,000 in the United States, and that program has expanded to Canada, Ireland, Australia, the UK, and Israel.